Flag. I'm your host, Jack O'Lynn. I'm an instrument-rated pilot and the owner of an aviation company and flight school here in Central Florida.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not guaranteed to be accurate or complete. While we research each topic, we are humans and occasionally make mistakes. For the most up-to-date information on regulations, check out the official Federal Aviation Regulations, also known as the FARs, or consult an aviation attorney. Lastly, the opinions expressed on this podcast are the guest's opinions and are not necessarily the opinions of the host or podcast. Welcome to this week's episode. We're joined again by my brother Matthew, who is a flight instructor and a part owner in Olind Aerospace, along with me and our other brother Hunter. And today we're going to talk about our expansion from 1 to 2 airplanes, how we decided to buy a Cessna 170, the process of buying it, what we learned, and the process of getting it home from California to Florida. So, backstory, we started the company in 2023 with the purchase of a Tailorcraft. And we just bought the Tailorcraft through like a friend of a friend at a local airport. We went and looked at it, we liked it, and we paid for it in cash. That was basically easy. The plane ended up being great. It's been a great tailwheel trainer. But the process of buying the second plane ended up being a lot more in depth. We'll just say that. So so our second plane is a Cessna 170. We just got it we purchased it in June. We started looking for it, I think, in March of this year. So we'll start with that. Matthew, why the 170? What's so good about the 170?
Well, we had Tailcraft. It was really fun. It's the most fun to fly. But I like it for a tailwheel trainer because the distinction between 2-point, 3-point landings is large. So you have to have good tailwheel skills. It's super light, super cheap to operate. And like the wheel landing aspect, in some planes, you don't get like a real nice one. It's a real nice wheel lander. So the distinction's huge. So teaching it, I could teach them both landings like very, very distinctly, very properly. But, it's lack of avionics and any sort of instrumentation doesn't really allow it to be used for a private pilot training. And that was the main reason, right? We want to train private pilots in it and also do tailwheel training. And that this plane's way better for that, and the range too. The Tailcraft like cross country range isn't that great. With 2 people, you can't use the aux fuel tank, so you're down to 12 gallons gas. I like to have an hour reserve. Now you're down to 8. It's 2 hours, and you're going 89 miles an hour. It's not very far.
Yeah.
So for teach students like hard cross countries, it's better to have a bigger plane, as well as useful load, right? For more personal use, but also for renters and students. I had send away a few students until we got this plane because they wouldn't fit the Tailcraft. I am the maximum size that will fit the Tailcraft. Yeah. So anyone taller than me, anyone heavier than me is just not going to work. Just more training, more private pilot training to hammer home on that, as well as just longer flights carrying more goods.
And to expand a little bit on the instrumentation, so the Tailorcraft doesn't have an attitude indicator. It doesn't have lights. So we couldn't without the attitude indicator, we probably couldn't do a PPL check ride. Without lights, we can't fulfill the night requirement.
A turn and bank would also work.
Okay.
But we don't have one of those either.
Yeah, don't have that.
Yes, we could go on adding much up the Tailcraft and get it up to that point, but then just more weight and more weight and more weight. Yeah. And yes, we could spend probably in the end $50,000, $60,000 on a new motor and then do the STC to increase the gross weight. At that point, you're kind of getting away from what the Tailcraft is. It's really good at what it does. Leave it like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to leave that plane authentic because of how it looks.
Like when the people before us we bought it from redid it, we have a bunch of pictures in the logbooks. They redid it like factory spec. So most modern Tailcrafts, you'll find the 85 horsepower. We have the 65. You'll find some more modern stuff. The only find is the guy who owned it in between redoers and us was like really into avionics. So we do have a transponder and ADS-B in it, but that's just powered off a little battery. So it still doesn't have an electrical system, no lights, nothing like that. But we do have a transponder because he wanted one.
Yeah. And so, like Matthew's saying, the Tailcraft is great for tailwheel endorsements and maybe biannual flight reviews. Yeah. But by getting the Cessna 170, we greatly expand what we can offer. We can offer now PPL. We can offer sport pilot license once Mosaic passes. We can offer, I think, commercial should be fine in there.
Yeah, and they can rent it, and like students get. The Tailcraft is fun to fly around in pattern and around the local area, but like that's not really what you'd want to use it for trips. People can rent it to go somewhere, right? They can, if they want to go to Atlanta for the weekend, go to the Keys, whatever. That is something they could do in this plane. They could bring all their bags per, 1, 2 extra people, like a lot more stuff.
Yeah. There's also a logistical reason why we went with the 170. So we wanted a metal airplane. So the tailcraft is fabric. We wanted a metal airplane because we wanted to store the second plane at an airport on the other side of the county to have more geographical range. And that airport doesn't have any hangars available. So metal skin was the way to go. So we looked at Cessna 140s.
Yeah, well, the 140A model.
The A model,
which is
right?
very rare. We also, this is Luscombe 8, right, is metal, but not quite what we're looking for. There was one plane called the Luscombe T8F. It was the Observer. It's the only tandem one.
I don't even remember that one. Yeah.
It was like 2 flying. It's like, we can find one of these. I'll buy it. But yeah, we looked at some conversions too, right? 172, 150 conversions.
Yep.
But nothing really was like super like standing out to us at the 170.
Yeah. Or available. Right. On the market, we were able to find generally like 2 to 3 170s available at any given moment, whereas the other planes, not so much.
Yeah, and the support network is like, I'm a member of the 170 Association. The support network's huge. Like pretty much anything I could think of having a question about, an answer exists on that forum.
Yeah. And not to mention, Matthew had the opportunity to fly a 170 when we were in this process of deciding. He knows a guy who had one who took him up. And what did you think of the flying in his 170?
Very easy. Like it's like Cessna, like they're known for being easy. That's why they're all the trainers. It's as easy. Like it's a tailwheel, so that there's some skill associated with that, but it is an easy tailwheel to fly. Like you've flown both now. It's pretty easy, right?
Pretty easy.
Yeah. It's a lot easier than tailcraft to fly. And then in the air, it's just super docile. The stalls, it might drop a few degrees. Every now we got the A model, the 170, which doesn't have any dihedral, so occasionally you'll drop some wings on stalls, but like a couple degrees and it effectively corrects itself. Yeah, just super easy flying. And the maintenance is known, which I like about that. Like tailcraft, the maintenance isn't as known, but there's not so much to break.
Yeah.
The 170, there's a lot to break, but there's a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, once we decided on the 170, we started looking around, mostly Matthew, on Facebook Marketplace, Wingswap, all the buy and sell websites. So the first one we looked at was in Oklahoma. Looked great, had all LED lights, had low hour engine.
Dream plane.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
And for like the pilot side of things, the panel was really, I love it. It was a new custom panel, new instrumentation. It had like the modern vernier mixture control, which is the fine mixture control. Everything you could ever want, modern.
Yeah. So we immediately got it under contract, hired someone to do the pre-buy inspection, and then what happened with the pre-buy inspection?
So like all this work, right, it looked awesome. But upon the pre-buy, I mean, the big thing was there was a hole in the spar, right? That's insane that they would drill a hole through the spar. But the spar end caps, or where the spar ends, there's some end caps. And I think they tried to drill through one of those. They end up putting a hole through the spar. I think this is just 2 guys in their hangar who were just doing work on the plane, just, on their own. And not, so I think they made some mistakes there. The paint also was new, but it was like, more homemade.
Sure.
So the guy said the paint's not going to last when I had the guy look at it. So yeah, we had to move on. But I would say I don't know if I already told you, I did get a quote to get all the stuff fixed.
Really?
$30,000 to $40,000 range. So obviously the seller did not want to take that much off the price, and that's probably a year or 2 of work. Someone should buy that plane.
Yeah, if it's still available.
Yeah, buy that plane. It was a
we
cool
should
plane.
go look. If we still have the link, we should see if it's still up.
It was a cool plane, but it's just not, as business-wise, we weren't looking for a 2-year. Like, you could even make money off of it probably, but just a long.
Yeah, sure. And like, since we're operating it as like a rental and a trainer, we wanted it to be available. Like as soon as we could buy it, we wanted to start training it, start recouping some of the costs. So yeah, second plane, we found a 170 in Mexico. I don't remember the exact city, but it had 1 engine hour since the last major overhaul. Again, looked great. Interior was moderate, but it looked like it had been well taken care of. But what was the issue with that?
Yeah, there's a few issues. The biggest one, so before we get to the really big one, the main one was the 1 hour engine overhaul. Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
But it really depends. If the engine overhaul was done it's August, if it was done in July, has one engine, that's fine. But an engine overhaul, the engine needs to be broken in, or um, it needs to be flying. And this overhaul was done a couple of years ago, right? So it's just been sitting, and it's not pickled, it's not preserved, and that's just corrosion happening. And it's in, I don't know exactly if that part of Mexico is arid or wet, but corrosion's going to happen, especially in the engine. So that was not a deal breaker, but something to think about. It's not so great. That one engine hour isn't so great. I think like if I buy a freshly overhauled engine, I'm gonna want to see zero, like I'm buying just a new engine, or I'm gonna want to see at least like 50 to 100, like not really in the middle part, or at least the overhaul was done like a month ago. But importing was I we looked into it from, there's a lot of imports in Canada. If you look around in Alaska, northern US, there's a bunch of imports from Canada, right? Import process is hard because your airworthiness doesn't transfer. You have to get a new airworthiness certificate, which requires the FAA examine your plane. Right? It's very strict.
Even if it had one from when it was in the US originally, it doesn't carry over.
You have to re-register into the US. You're not just transferring registration. So it gets the FAA is going to have to come and look at it and do like similar for an experimental airplane. They're going to have to verify the airworthiness, which is a huge process, right? No aircraft owner wants that. But in Canada, it's done a lot. You fly, you bring a mechanic up, you just go to Canada, see the plane. You can do a lot of the work there, bring it back. It's a little seamless. But the issue with Mexico is that where it was, safety-wise, we just didn't know if it was viable for us to go down there, spend extended periods of time. Could we find maintenance parts, things like that? So we kind of had the idea of, okay, we'll cover the cost. Could you fly it to like El Paso, San Antonio, somewhere that we know people that we can get mechanics on the airplane, figure out it. I had a mechanic who's willing to do translation work to translate all the logbooks and everything that would be needed. But it's just the seller was not willing to work with us on that, and I'm not going to buy a plane in Mexico not being 100% sure if I can have the plane, if it's even legal to fly in the US. If you can bring it to the US, I can have a DAR look at it. DAR is a designated airworthiness representative from the FAA. I can have him look at that and give us an idea. But it wasn't able to come to the US unless we bought it. And I'm not going to do that. It's not the best idea.
Yeah. Especially given the fact that we were saying that there's always a couple of 170s on the market. Like maybe if this were a type of plane where this was the only one, like this was the opportunity, we could make it work. But
I remember the very, very first one we looked at, we couldn't even put an offer. It's already sold by the time that one had 1,500 hours, but that was new buys in Alabama or Oklahoma or something. Nice paint, nice engine, everything was really above board. We missed it, but they come and go pretty quick. There's a lot of them flying, so we just after the import thing, I was like, this is not worth any amount of investment on our end.
And another thing I want to add, throughout this whole process, all of these things we were learning for the first time. Like we did not know about this whole import process.
I assumed if it was built in the US, you could just use the old airworthiness, but I guess the issue has been in Mexico for 20 years, and you got to transfer the maintenance over and have it re-signed off. And this is one minor instance, right? I know the 170 is a 2-piece windshield, right? There's a seam in the middle. It has like a little riveted metal strip. They had a one-piece windshield. I found a lot of 170, so that's like my litmus test. Okay, I need to see proper paperwork that was done correctly, like STC or maybe 337, probably STC. I need to see the logbook entries. If I see the one-piece windshield and there's nothing saying that ever happened, I know there's been work done on this plane that was not properly done. And like if you're buying it for yourself, whatever, but we're a business, we're gonna have renters, it really needs to be above board.
Did you see that on the Mexican plane?
Hard to tell. I mean, I had like hundreds of pages of PDFs all in Spanish, and I know I could get them translated. I was able to I know a little bit of Spanish to see what the entries are, and I couldn't find anything. It might be done. I'm not gonna say it wasn't, but just hard to figure out. And it was done maybe properly in the Mexican way, right? They have their whole separate logging system for maintenance. I don't know if it would transfer over. So there's so many questions that would require a lot of work that just be a lot of investment, a lot of time. It's similar to the one in Oklahoma, right? If someone's knows someone, you have some way that you are good at importing, it'd be a cool plane to have. It had good paint, the inside was nice, but we just weren't really ready for some massive undertaking.
Yeah. And thankfully, this one we didn't have under contract. We didn't pay for any pre-buy inspections. So this
No.
was, we made this decision before actually getting
Yeah,
financially involved.
once he wouldn't bring it to the U.S. I mean, it was like a 300-mile flight to bring it to El Paso. This wasn't really worth it for us.
Yeah. So next one we found was in Upland, California, just east of Los Angeles. Similar quality, low hour engine,
90
really
hours.
cool looking paint job, decent interior again. So we got a pre-buy inspection, got it under contract. Pre-buy inspection went well. Do you remember any notes from the mechanic?
Nothing too much. Like, I'm trying to think. There's minor paint on the windshield.
Yeah.
Paint was good. The tires are roughly worn. All the compression, I mean, it's a 90-hour engine. You expect compression. Compressions were on the low end of what you expect a 90-hour to be because it wasn't flying, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But compressions were fine. The interior is okay. It's original, so it's not like bad, but it's not nice upholstery. It's just original from 1951.
Yeah.
The panel is just bone standard. It has an electric tack installed, so that's nice, I guess. One piece of modern equipment. Besides that, there wasn't any major catches on the manual. Everything was, I mean, it's been hangared, so no corrosion. It's in the desert. Upland, California is desert, so there's no corrosion anywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, so we found this plane, it must have been sometime in May, probably early May.
Maybe even earlier.
Maybe April.
Yeah.
And so we closed at the end of June. So between then, we were working on getting a pre-buy inspection, working on getting a loan. So the Tailorcraft we just paid in cash. So this plane we were going to try to get a loan for. We needed new insurance. We needed insurance that allowed rentals. So we were working with that. And just like with the import stuff, we had never done this before. So we were learning everything for the first time. Trying to think if there were any hitches with getting a loan. Well, yes. So the plane had 2 liens on it, like from the 70s or 80s in Oklahoma. Is that where they
I was
were?
banking on a bank somewhere else, and they were, which is crazy for like sometimes up to the purchase price of the airplane, which is a few $1,000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these liens, we didn't know this. Like aircraft liens, unlike like your car or whatever, you just paid off and you're done. But the FAA likes to keep tabs on loans. Yep. So it's not like these debt were outstanding. Right? If this debt was outstanding with interest, it'd be so big, the bank would be knocking on the door every morning. It was just some point 50 years ago, someone paid off the loan, but never reported it to the FAA. So yeah, those were there. And it's, if you want to buy cash, you can buy a plane that has a lien on it. No one cares. I mean, it's a little bit of a risk, but the issue is the bank will not finance a plane with a lien on it. So we had to hire a lien clear, about $700. It took 2 months.
Did we pay for that?
It's part of the.
I don't remember.
Part of the escrow service thing.
Okay, yeah.
But we did do the lien clearing. Basically, what they have to do is they have to go to, it was like something Bank of Oklahoma. It doesn't exist anymore. And it's been bought and bought and bought and bought. Eventually, some mega bank owns it. Eventually, it had to go to like some, farm rank in Nebraska or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then that was bought. And then they're the current owners of that bank. And that was bought. So you basically have to trace it and get a paper trail all the way back. Once you can prove and you get them to sign off, they're not actually owed any money anymore. You get the liens released. So they were able to get released in about 2 months, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, so we got the liens released. Great news. And originally, so the next hitch, we were planning on just having liability insurance on the plane and then self-insuring the hull, which is what we mostly do for the Tailorcraft. And so that's what we had done. And then a couple days before we were supposed to close, we hear from the bank, like, hey, you need to insure the hull up until the value of the loan, at least the value of the loan, which it makes sense logically, but we just didn't think about it, and no one told us.
I don't get loans for anything. We never did loans, and this is just a business loans. Okay, but it didn't make sense to me because they took all of our information.
Yeah.
The loan was such a small amount that obviously we could pay it off in one day if we really had to. It's like they didn't want to loan. Like, loans make them money. It seems like it's like the most low risk loan. Literally, they could take the Tailorcraft and sell it and it would pay off the loan.
Yeah.
So I don't. We don't really understand. Like, it seemed like they didn't want to loan us money, but anyways, they were very adamant on the insurance thing. They would not let liability only.
Yeah.
So that's something new we learned.
Yeah. And our down payment ended up being like about half the loan. So it wasn't like, it was a small loan, like you were saying.
Yeah.
So we got that cleared finally. We flew out to California to go see the plane on the morning of closing. We meet the owner at the hangar, we look at the plane, and we were very happy at first, right? The plane, if you've never seen a 170 and you've been flying a Tailorcraft for the last couple of years, the plane is big. It sits very like
Yeah,
at an angle.
The max height of the tailcraft when it's like nose down is about like our height, like a little over 6 feet.
Mhm.
170 is very tall. Like the very top of the cowling is maybe like 9 feet up, 10 feet up.
Yeah, you can stand under the wing.
And it has the normal 170 from the fact it had 6-inch wheels. It has the 8.5, a little bigger. Yeah, it has a mean presence. It looks nice. The paint's really nice, which we enjoy. It looks nice. So we were very excited, ready to close and be going the next day.
Yeah, Matthew did a quick like pre-buy inspection.
Yeah,
part
before we
two.
sign anything, I just checked off and like we'll get into this later, but on the ground, solid plane, right? It doesn't have any like one of the big things you can check. This is something I learned is rivets. There's two types. No, there's structural rivets and non-structural rivets. Structural rivets have a little like divot in the middle of them.
Okay.
And they're saying a lot of people do their own work. No one knows that there are two types of rivets. They'll do their own work, try to repair, maybe a ground loop and have a dent or something. If you see a non-structural rivet on the wing or something, you know. So I checked, I can't check all of them. There's so many, but spot checked a bunch of rivets. Check the engine, massive oil leaks, check rigging, stuff like that. Look through inspection ports. The wiggle test, as I call it, right? Tailcraft, we had to tighten down some bolts because it failed the wiggle test, but we fixed it. But just wiggle all the wings, right? Make sure nothing, the whole plane is a solid piece. So like a very intense, almost like pre-flight almost. Everything looked great. So I was happy with it.
Yeah. So then we signed all the documents on our iPad, sent them to the bank, and we just sat there and waited to hear that the money had been transferred. We sat there for a couple of hours. Nothing happened. And then the end of the day, the end of like the banking day arrived.
Well, speaking of things we didn't know, a 5 p.m. is not the end. The FAA has a limit on when you can transfer a plane over, and I don't remember the limit. It was like 3 p.m., 3:30. It's not 5. It's not a standard day, but that came with.
Yep. So we were sad. We couldn't close. It was Friday. So then we were planning on flying back starting Saturday morning, but that meant we were going to have to wait in California until Monday. So yeah, we bought some ice cream. We're sad that night. Yeah, and we went in and out. Yep. So we spent the weekend at Upland, California. Monday morning comes along. We're able to finally close pretty early, and our goal was just to leave immediately after closing. So we go to the airport. We do our pre-flight. Everything's good. We go to start the plane, and it doesn't start. We're pulling the starter. Nothing's happening. And so we're told the battery's dead because it's been sitting for too long and doesn't have enough voltage to run the starter, which could have been true. I actually don't know. That the battery is fine? Yeah.
Yeah. So we pulled the starter. So in hindsight, just to be clear, the starter was working. The old pull starters you have to yank really, really hard.
Yep.
But we'll talk about that in a bit. That should have been communicated to us.
Yep.
But anyways, so yeah, we can't get it started. So eventually I ended up hand propping it. Right, we hand prop the tailcraft. Like I'm comfortable doing it on tail wheels.
Yeah.
So we hand prop it, get it started. In hindsight, wouldn't have hand propped it. It's very hard. Very hard. Compression is high. The 6 cylinders means it has more catch points to start. The tailcraft is very simple and safe. This is not so much.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't hand prop it again. I'll just throw in a new starter if I ever have to.
Yeah. And then the next thing that arose when we were doing our run-up, we went to go do the mag check. And if I remember correctly, the left mag check, totally fine, everything great. When we set it to right, we had a drop of what, like 200 to 400 RPMs?
500, a large drop.
Yeah, a large drop. So we started doing some research, and they were saying like if the plane's been sitting for a while, it could have some buildup on the spark plugs, and there was a procedure for clearing spark plug buildup. So we ran through that procedure, tried it again. It's a little better, sounded a little better. We brought it back, spoke to the owner.
This will be important later.
Yeah.
The owner was like, "Oh, it's weird. They're brand new spark plugs." I'm like, okay, maybe they've just been sitting.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I have had a mechanic tell me before, if it doesn't die on the mag, I know it's probably not the most accurate thing, but if it doesn't die in the mag check, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, we decided to take it for a lap and see. So we take it for a lap in the pattern. Seems to make decent power. Who knows? One thing I don't like is I'm not getting any POH speeds. Right? We still don't get those. We've realized that there's a leak. The ram pressure from the pitot tube leaks out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're getting that fixed in a week. But anyways, we do a lap in the pattern. How would you say that lap went?
In the moment, I thought it went well. There was a moment where we heard something clear, like off the spark plugs, and we got a little jump of power. And not to mention, we'd never flown in the desert before, so we were just thinking high density altitude, and I guess attributing lack of performance to that. But in the moment, I was pretty happy. Like you're saying, the drop in performance didn't seem outside of the ordinary to me. Granted, I'd never flown a 170 before. So in that moment, I was like, yes, okay, it's good. The spark plugs are clearing. We're good to go.
Yeah, and they were to an extent clearing. So we come back, land, get fuel, take off to head. I don't even know where our intended first destination was. Gila Bend, maybe?
I think it was, yeah.
Take off.
Yeah, so we take off. And so this airport was located like right next to Ontario International Airspace, I think it was called, which was a Class Charlie. And so we were trying to talk to them to transit through, and we were just spiraling above the airport to like get to our altitude. We wanted to climb up to 7,500, so we'd be clear of all the mountains just to the east of Los Angeles. And I think we made it to like 5,000 or 6,000 before we noticed that the oil temperature gauge was in the red. And so we level off, let it sit there for a little bit, and it drops a little bit.
Got into the green.
It got into the green.
And it stayed in the green halfway.
But it was like at the high end of the green for sure, which is fine. So we finally get clearance to go through the airspace or go around it, whatever we ended up doing. So we head east through the pass in the mountains over Banning, the Banning Pass. Yeah, and yeah, it was scenic.
The biggest mountain I've ever flown was in like leaving from Atlanta when I used to fly there. It was like 1,000 feet. This was crazy. Like looking out the window was crazy.
The whole landscape was actually wild.
Good to mention, I've never seen a desert in my entire life before this. And just sand as far as you can see.
Oh yeah, and so yeah, very scenic, but also kind of intimidating because like once you come out the other end of the pass, so you have Palm Springs down here, like under you and to the right, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But then Palm Springs looks tiny from where we were. And then if you look forward and left, just open desert, like dotted with little mountains, but nothing. No civilization, no roads,
700 miles
no water. Yeah. But things were going pretty smoothly at this point.
At this point,
the engine oil was totally fine. We were making decent cruise speed. Yeah. So we continued that way for what? An hour, hour and a half. We stopped for gas at this little airport called Blythe because after Blythe, it was a pretty long stretch to Gila Bend with literally nothing. No other option.
We've never flown this plane before. So like, yes, the book says we should burn, 7 to 8, maybe 9 if we're really pushing it gallons per hour. Who knows? What if there's a fuel leak and we're burning 15? So we like, let's just stop. It was about a 2-hour flight. Yeah. To Blythe. Let's just stop here.
Yeah. So we stop at Blythe, we refuel. They were doing some military operations, which is pretty cool.
Land and take off next to a A400 Airbus.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It was really fun to see that up close. So the fuel burn was on par with the POH.
Fuel burn's great. It's playing around super lean, doing full power. Yeah. I enjoy that.
So, and also we left in the morning. So now it was probably somewhere on the order of like 10 a.m. So it's getting hotter.
Yeah.
and we can feel it. Like, if any of you have seen a 170, it has like kind of almost like a bubble cockpit.
Yeah, you're from a normal 172, you're way more forward in a 170. You can see the leading edge of the wing that much forward. So the sun it's a magnifying. It's
especially when you're flying east in the morning and you have the sun coming through.
Almost like I was a little burnt. Almost like a bubble cockpit, like an RV.
Yeah, it was hot. So we're feeling the heat. So yeah, full gas. We take off out of Blythe, heading to Gila Bend, which was supposed to be another hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah, it was about that.
Yeah, it did end up being about that. But coming out of Blythe, we had an even harder time climbing up to altitude. Again, we wanted to get to 7,500 just to be clear of all mountains in the area, but we hit the red line on the oil temperature much sooner, like
So
2,000 or 3,000
feet.
feet.
Valley, right?
Yep.
In the valley, the valley's very low level. So we were up like 2,000-3,000 feet. I'd say like not very high. And then all right, that's all we're getting today.
Yeah, and so we level off at whatever it was, and then every couple minutes we'd attempt to do like a shallow climb. And I want to say we did eventually climb up to probably like 4,000 or 5,000 feet before we made it to Gila Bend. But at this point, we were thinking that something is going on, right? Like, yes, the desert is very hot, but a Cessna 170 should be able to climb.
The desert's hot, and like now talking to the mechanics and stuff in Arizona, which we'll get to, it is cool. Like they ground their planes after noon.
Yeah.
So on hot summer days because the oil they just can't keep up. And I know the 170 does not have an oil. I learned this later, but it doesn't have an oil cooler. It's just the air cools the oil pan.
Yep.
But yeah, like we were back to like we were very high, so it's not that we're like very high. I was back to like 2,000, which is maybe like 50% RPM, or 50% power. We like any plane should be able to at least get just out of the red line and just wouldn't. Red line pin for like 4 hours.
Yep. So we did make it to Gila Bend, filled up with gas. We're already kind of in a bad mood.
Yeah, that's when it's I started. I said I was punished by the desert. That's when the punishment starts.
Yeah.
When we're filling air, it's hot, right? But we're coastal, so it's hot, but the wind's always cooler. The wind was hotter than the ambient temperature. I've never felt that before. The wind came and it made us hotter.
It was the weirdest feeling. I was standing up on the ladder, filling up the gas.
That airport was just like middle of the desert, runway, little shack. The shack had an AC bathroom though. I wish I just could have just stayed in that AC bathroom. The desert was punishing me.
The wind felt like opening an oven. You know, it was crazy. So yeah, got gas. Our next stop, like ideally, was going to be I think Deming, New Mexico. Right?
I think the plan, was to start to get in New Mexico. Yeah.
So Deming would have been a long leg, like maybe 2.5 hours.
Maybe stop near Phoenix, then go. Yeah, maybe. No, it was south of Phoenix, then Deming.
Okay.
But
so we take off, having the exact same issue climbing with the oil temperature.
This time we were at 2,000. Like, we couldn't get up at all. And like, yes, we probably just kept the engine running and go higher, but at some point you're gonna blow it. Like it's not worth it.
Yeah. Like we were aware that sometimes oil gauges can be wrong, but we did like in that moment, having not tested it, we just didn't know. It could have been right.
The engine was hot. Everything was hot. Like it was very clear. Like steam going everywhere. The engine was exceedingly hot.
Yeah. So we make it to a small airport just south of Phoenix. What was it called? It was called Sort of the Sea. Yeah, pull it up.
This is funny.
Yeah.
This airport. My experience at this airport.
It was a president, Coolidge. Coolidge Municipal.
Yeah, P08, right? I think. Yeah, Coolidge.
P08.
There we go.
Yeah. So it seemed like it would be good from a
massive airport.
Yeah.
Like I can't stress how big this airport was. They had probably a bunch of airliners landing there. Bunch of what are they called?
The boxy ones?
Yeah, this
I don't remember.
Shorts.
Yep.
Bunch of those. All right. There's definitely because like at this point we were thinking maybe this isn't gonna happen. Maybe the plane needs to be worked on.
Yeah.
And we're just like can't find. So like there's nothing. Literally, I walked up to a guy. I thought it was the airport manager. He was just a guy sitting on a chair. I was like, do you know like is there like a place nearby we can get a hotel or something? And he just laughed at me. Literally laughed at me. And I was just like, this is when I started to like feel very bad. Like I'm calling home like in shambles and like, dude, we're in the middle of the desert. We're never getting out.
Barely calling home. one bar of
Yes.
service that was flickering.
Yes, I
No water. They just
yeah,
porta
I
potties.
remember calling Sasha, and she was like, "You just have to get home. This is too much."
Yeah.
I was like completely destroyed. Like, this is just the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
So and then I call and calm down, call a mechanic that it was a mechanic in California. I don't remember. It was a mechanic in California that like a friend of a friend type thing.
Okay.
And he gave me some tips like, climb as slow as you can, 100 feet a minute. Do not lean at all. Full rich. So we did all that. So we were like, all right, there's nothing here. Like, there's just no possible way this plane will ever leave this airport if we leave. So we're like, we have to take off again. So our plan is take off, right? We're gonna point because it's kind of like the valley. It's like New Mexico is high altitude, mountains, everything.
Yeah.
The valley kind of extends down to Tucson. We're gonna fly that way. If we can get high enough, we can cross.
Yep.
So we take off.
Yeah, we take off, and yeah, even the shallow climb is just not working. It's not climbing. At this point, we were saying like, okay, if we can't get to this altitude by this time, that's it for today.
Yeah, and we understand density altitude's a factor here, but like even the density like the 170 can go up to 9,000, 10,000 feet just fine.
Yeah.
It takes a long time, but like the density altitude maybe was 6,000 to 7,000. We should be able to go higher, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah. I want to say the ground elevation in this area was somewhere around 2,000. We were looking at density altitudes around 4,500.
Yes, I think about 2,500.
Yeah. Yeah. So the 170 is in that range.
It wasn't terrain though. So you had all this time to climb. That's in the by POH standards, which you want to see. The 170 should have been able to do this.
Yeah. And so we hit our time threshold we had set, and we weren't achieving what we wanted to achieve. So then we decided that we're staying in the valley. Also physically, we couldn't get over the mountains.
Yeah, it
couldn't have happened. So
so
we headed towards Tucson. Originally, we were just going to try to land at Tucson International, which I believe was a class Charlie.
Yeah.
But kind of big and busy. There's a lot of military stuff. So we found a little class Delta to the side called Ryan Airfield.
Yeah, I told her, I was like, we're going to see this. This plane is not leaving. Like, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know that yet, but we were like, there'll probably be someone here that can fix it.
Yeah.
That was the idea. So yeah, we go to Ryan. Yeah, it was funny in the METAR for Ryan. It said density altitude alert. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm feeling it.
We know. Yep.
Yeah, so we land at Ryan, and I see there's a mechanic shop. That's it. All right, they're not open because it's Sunday, right?
It was Monday.
It was Monday, but they weren't.
The whole airport was basically closed. There was no one there.
In the day. Well,
it was 3 p.m.
It was very hot, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that. The flight school, now talking to that guy, Troy.
Yeah.
The flight school closed down at like noon if it's too hot. So everyone left. So we land, we just find this little FBO. We just kind of sit there for a bit and we're like, all right, what to do? But luckily, we already had a hotel booked for us. Sasha.
Yep.
Booked, my wife. booked a hotel room for us at a casino.
Yeah, it was really nice and cheap.
Yeah, it was like the best shower I've ever had. And it was like a 5-star hotel, but it's cheap as a casino. So we went there and rested, and we're all like, I don't know, how do you describe the mood?
I'll let me take this. Yeah, so very somber, a couple of sad boys in a hotel room for sure.
No worries.
And so at this point, we were still thinking like, okay, if we wake up early Tuesday morning, it might be cold enough that we can climb over the mountains and at least get into like territory we can handle.
The idea is I-10, right? Because like if New Mexico, if you ever look at the VFR chart for New Mexico, it's relentless terrain. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know how anyone lives there, but I-10 cuts through it. So the idea is that you just follow I-10. It's in kind of the pass. I think if you get to 6,500, you're okay. Just follow I-10 the whole way. You just jump New Mexico in one leap, get to El Paso. Still very high, but we're getting lower. And just keep on jumping, and eventually you'll get to low.
Yeah. So that was the plan.
That was the idea, and then we all call home. We kind of separate. Like I was going to tell him, you walked away.
I went to go get pizza.
Oh yeah, and we're all calling home. Well, when we eat the pizza, I don't want to eat because we're just like, I don't know. I was not in the mood for eat. I was just hating life. Like, I don't want to be here, and this is so hot, and like it's just. This problem was so mentally frustrating in the moment.
We're also, at least I was very sunburned at this point too.
I don't get a sunburn, but just hot. And then you kind of separate, call home, or you're in the room. I leave the hotel room. And I'm calling home, I was trying to call mom, calling people. And eventually I come in and I'm like, okay. I don't want to fly. I have to be very honest. I try to follow that feeling because I have maybe one day we'll talk about it. A few stories where I've had real dangerous close to death scenarios in airplanes, and every time pretty much I was just doing something that I had a gut feeling about, and just I wanted to be flying.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't think I should fly. I don't think we should fly this plane. Like we both feel so shitty. Like flying. Sorry, flying is supposed to be fun.
Yeah,
Like, this
right.
is like even if it's fine for a job, like I've done the ferry flying stuff, it's still supposed to be a little fun. This wasn't fun.
No.
So I was like, I think we're just gonna call. So we immediately look online. Is there a mechanic shop? There is, right? It's not open. We know nothing about it.
What was it called? Velocity Aviation?
Yeah,
right?
Velocity Air Aviation.
Yeah. Flash forward, they did great work.
Let me see. It's gonna kill me. It's called like the mechanic shop was called Velocity Aviation, but they're located at the flight school of Arizona Aerotech.
Mm-hmm.
Also, maybe Arizona Aerotech I think was the name of the flight school / But yeah, we paid a place called Velocity Aviation, but we didn't know anything about it, so we're just gambling. It's like if they can't help us at all, like are we gonna ship it home? We have to get the wings cut. Like, I really don't know what is possible. Maybe fly to air like the big Tucson airport. So we do that. But then I think we both agreed it was like a sigh of relief.
Oh yeah, we
Like,
slept good that night.
Yeah, I wish we ate dinner after we made that decision. I'm hungry now. I feel good. But I went to bed and all right, I went to sleep in. I'm not flying in the morning. So we booked it. We were able to find a flight home, which was awesome. Did we connect? We did.
Yep, Dallas.
A flight home. Went to bed.
Yep. The morning we got up, we went and met the head of maintenance at Velocity Air.
That was named Troy. Velocity Air, great guy. But he knew. Like I was still very nervous that night because I was like, man, what if they can't fix it? Like what? I don't know. But luckily for him, he's worked on 170. He's worked on that. So we have an 0300, 145 horsepower. He's worked on that because these are the high oil temperature. Some mechanics might not understand this engine because it doesn't have an oil cooler. So, and it shouldn't need one. Some people put the modification if you really need one, but it shouldn't need one.
Right.
And he understood that, right? It should operate as planned, and it wasn't. So he knew what it was. So we were comfortable. We left it in his hands. We gave him everything. Airline home.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, so we hear from him a couple days later. And he wasn't exactly sure, but he was like, there's a couple of things that could be going on, right? Like we were saying, the gauge could be reading high. The baffling, like the sheet metal like enclosure for the engine that like directs air where it needs to go, was very old.
It had
like
holes in it. So what happens is cold air is supposed to go through the nose, get routed over the engine and down. But what happens if there's holes in the back, the hot air escapes out the back and kind of just lives in the back of the cowling and just heats up it.
And then, not to mention, then you don't have the air on the bottom of the cylinders.
There are a huge other things that can happen. There's something called blow-by, where your exhaust leaks, hot exhaust leaks directly onto where the oil goes through for the cylinders. That heats it up. So there's a whole bunch of things. But he was able to rule out that. He checked our exhaust is brand new. It is new. It's the nicest part of the plane. Mm-hmm. So he was able to check all these things, and nothing of that was the issue.
Yeah. So we ended up we bought a new baffling kit.
Yeah, it was like the kit. Everything's prefabricated. Yep. It was pretty easy, actually. He just ordered it, installed it.
Yeah, and so he tried that, and it was an improvement. Still had a couple of issues with oil temperature. Yeah. They replaced the oil. They installed a second oil temperature gauge.
Yeah, we saw a second because like the old Cessnas, I've never seen them. It's just green and red. There's no numbers. There's nothing. Also, not to mention the red line is 225. If you use 50 weight oil in it's a known issue with these engines because they put the oil temperature probe in the hottest part of the engine. Mm-hmm. It's a known issue. So if you put a certain type of oil, they give you up to 240.
Yeah.
So we need to know, like, okay, what's the actual? So we put a more accurate new oil temperature gauge in. So we did that. We did the baffling, as well as we diverted more airflow to the oil pan of the engine. So we modified some of the baffling and stuff a bit to just get more airflow and Troy he's the one who did this and signed it off all of that work. But just getting more airflow to the oil pan, right? Because the cylinders are getting plenty of cooling, the oil wasn't.
He also expanded the air intake hole in the cowling, right?
A little bit. Yeah, we kind of the end goals we reverted me and him on Arizona like bush pilot forums.
Yep.
Like, what are you guys doing to fly? And just finding some answers. And yeah, the big thing was getting more airflow to the bottom to the oil pan. So we did all that, and then it flew great.
Yeah.
A little side story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is we needed someone to fly this plane. I'm not going back to Arizona. Work was stopping. Everyone's work. We were busy. So, and I tried to find a ferry pilot, and I couldn't find one. So, like, this is obviously I could find one, but I had to fly him from somewhere else in the U.S. to Tucson, pay for the hotel room. But then he had to test fly it. If it doesn't fail, I flying back. It was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing is looking Arizona tailwheel training, trying to find someone in Arizona who was good at tails. I found a tailwheel guy, Brett Bosert, in Arizona, who was very good, familiar with the 170. He was great. He was willing to work with us. So he was able to fly it once. When we adjusted the baffling, it didn't help. It didn't help us enough. So he was able to go back, fly it again once we did all that, and it worked. It was probably one of the more like airplane-wise happier I've been. When I saw the flight radar, he got up to 8,000 feet. He went out, flew for an hour, came back. World temperature was just 180. 180 is like the goal temperature, and it was that the whole time.
I remember I was sitting at my desk at work, and you sent me the link to FlightAware.
Yeah.
And you could see the altitude and the speed, and going fast, high altitude. And I was like, I was breathing a sigh of relief.
Yeah, we got it fixed. So it lived in Tucson for about a month, right? Maybe a little less, around a month.
Around there, yeah.
Yeah, and then eventually he had openings in his work schedule, and he was able to fly it home. The same thing we did say, follow I-10. Pretty much just shot, a couple stops over Texas, near the Baton Rouge area, tip of Alabama, and then down to where we live.
Yep. And so we got the plane, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, down here in Melbourne.
And on the way, he texted me once he landed. The radio just blew white smoke out the front. So that was like, I very thankfully had a handheld, and that's what we're using right now.
Yeah.
The new one. But it never stops. And also he's talking about, hey, there's oil all over the windscreen. It's not enough to be concerned about, but it is happening. So yeah, so more issues. So anyway, it's finally back to our home airport.
We've been discovering more and more issues as we have the plane, and I'm not even sure. Like my initial reaction is to be mad at the previous owner and be mad at the pre-buy inspection person for not disclosing this. But it could be that these things are normal wear and tear, and they didn't know.
Yeah. So we found the radio was very old. So we had to replace that. We bought a Garmin, throw in there. The tailwheel has a bit of a shimmy. We pumped up tires and it fixed it a little bit. The radio was flying, it had a little bit of a shimmy again, so we had to tighten up the springs.
Mm-hmm.
Oil, it leaks a lot of oil. Out of the back, it's fine, but it's leaking out of the front, so we probably have to replace something called a crankshaft seal, which sounds scary. It's not. You don't have to open the engine. You have to take the prop off, throw the new seal on. We could probably baby it until the next annual. Yeah. So that's so far the things. I have to replace tires. And it's just things that have come up. Right. But you kind of get mad at the owner. But my current stance on it wasn't any. The pre-buy was done right. It found the pre-buys. There's limitations of pre-buy. The pre-buy is not going to find any flight issues. Right. The engine was great. The airplane was great. He's not going to know that the airflow is not properly cooling oil. Right? That's a flight thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I think could have been relayed to us a little more accurately was the state of how much the plane was flown. I was under the impression that it was flown relatively frequently, once, twice a month.
Yeah.
We kind of come to believe that it wasn't flown at all. It probably sat for about a year, even more, before we bought it. So we're having to just work through, like, obviously those are short in the radio. The oil stuff, right? As gaskets get old and they don't fly, they don't heat up, they deteriorate. So obviously we're having to work through some of that right now, but it is a great airplane. It flies great.
Oh, we forgot to mention the spark plugs.
Oh, yeah, I said earlier in the episode, I mentioned that, the owners, new spark plugs. That was a lie. That was a part of dishonesty, is that they weren't new. So Troy took them all out in Arizona, and he showed us they were all different mismatched brands, all different heights. Every single one of them was completely covered in carbon deposits, not working. So, yeah. Now flying the plane, though, here, one thing we did notice is that we were flying a plane with incomplete engine power. These O300s, they call them typewriters. Like they're 6-cylinder, and they're really small cylinders, so it's just nice, smooth engine. we were flying it, it was not that smooth, and we just weren't getting the performance that we're getting here. So like, we're now I know.
Yeah. And I don't want to paint the picture that the plane is like a piece of shit that we bought, because it's not.
It's great bones. It's a really good airplane. But there are certain things that happen when planes don't fly. They're meant to be flying. When planes don't fly, anything rubber, anything gasket related deteriorates. Wires and things deteriorate. Things like that. Baffling, right? The baffling is a metal piece, right? Hanger rash, I don't know how, but things deteriorate. The baffling, it's metal pieces, but it's sealed by a sealant that's like rubbery.
Yep.
All that deteriorates, right? It's just sitting. It needs to be flying. It needs to be warm, covered in oil, all that. So it's a great airplane. It's just the things that require flying weren't getting flown, and those things deteriorate.
Yeah. And so it just required a lot more money on our part.
We've had to replace all of this, right? Anything that could have deteriorated did, and we've had to replace.
Yeah. So what should we have done differently? What did we do wrong? What could we fix?
So like, it's going to be a lot, but going from the very start, if at all possible, you should buy a plane local to you.
Yes.
It is so like Tailcraft. I could see it fly. I knew the guy who owned it. Right. He's not going to lie to me. Like, and local is just so much nicer. Yeah, buy local, and then moving on.
To stay at the local one for 1 second, there's a little bit of pressure. Like if you're traveling from Florida to California to see a plane, subconsciously you have pressure to close the deal because you've traveled that far, even though it's like a sunk cost fallacy.
Hundreds of dollars to get there, and I spent $100 to go back.
Yeah,
it's back and forth.
Whereas if it's a local plane, if you see it and it is not what you were thinking, no big deal. Don't buy it.
Yeah, right? I think that's huge. And then if it's not local, I'd go see it. To be honest, I'm not going to fly a plane that I don't have like proof. Either I'm there watching the owner fly it, I fly with him, timestamp video of it flying, something. I don't think I'm interested in buying another ground. There are some good deals of planes that don't fly. Don't get me wrong. It's just something I'm not interested in. It requires a lot of work and it's not clear. But yeah, definitely want to see the plane flying. And I want to see the owner flying, right? Mm-hmm. Not just, I want to see a solid kept up plane. So that's kind of that. And then now that's kind of like the purchase of the plane, what to look for. Pre-buy was decent. The mechanic did a great job with pre-buy, right? This is stuff he wouldn't have found. It's flight stuff. The baffling, maybe, if he knew what he was looking for, I don't know. But, and then talking about the actual purchasing once you've decided on an airplane is the loan was good. And if you need it, go for it. But we could have swung paying cash for it. And it's done now. I think I would have paid cash for it. We'll probably pay the loan off pretty quick. I would have paid cash. It extended the purchase time triple, and they were like breathing down our backs and everything. And there's a certain way we like to do insurance. We can't do that anymore. There's just all such things.
Yeah. What else do I want to add about that? So you covered like the buying for the flight. I don't know. So when we saw the mag check with the low mags, should we have done that flight?
Well, yeah. So
that's what I'm wondering. Should we have stopped there?
I'm going to talk about pilot stuff in a bit once we talk about buying stuff.
Yeah, we'll handle buying first.
We'll talk about pilot mistakes next. But and then once you've kind of purchased the plane, if it happens to be far and everything checks out, I think ferry pilot's a good idea because I was telling Jack, my idea is if you go get your own plane, that's great. If you have like all the free time in the world, we both work. We don't have that, right? And we are on a time crunch, and that's right. Get the right. You immediately think about it. You can keep it in check if you notice it, but you think about it, and then just this idea that we flew out there, we got to fly back, fly out there again. So my idea is the ferry pilot. So we got a ferry pilot from Arizona back, and that was really nice because unlike us, who we have to get the right, so we're just hemorrhaging money. He's getting paid. Yes, it sucks because we have to pay him, but he's getting paid. So he's okay doing it properly, not being pushed by time. And like, I'm a professional pilot. I'm well aware, like, get the right to the thing. And I'm not going to say, oh, I've gotten above it. No one's above it. So you try to not put yourself in positions that you could get their itis. And we definitely were nearing that position. Probably had it.
Oh, for sure.
Just because like we hated it as we wanted to get out. So yeah, I think hiring a ferry pilot was a really good idea. One thing I think we did positive is knowing when it's just time to say, okay, it sucks that it's not my home airport, but I'm going to pay money and get it fixed somewhere else. Because having that peace of mind was nice. We found someone, doing a lot of maintenance before it ever leaves here. Like if it's in a far away place, making sure it's up to snuff there.
Yeah.
not trying to get it home. So that's kind of what we have. Just get it home and we'll fix it. It's not a really good idea.
Yeah. One thing I do want to talk about real quick that we did right is the preparation before we went to California. Like,
Yeah, cold.
yeah, Matthew did a ton of research on the area, on the flight routes. So it's not like we were exactly going into the unknown, right? So Matthew had read the POH extensively. He knew what to expect from the plane, what was within specs.
Yeah, I called probably a dozen people who've done this flight before, Southern California to Florida. You know, we have a lot of transplants in Florida. People bring their airplanes. So I know a lot of people who've done this, smaller planes. So I was really ready and prepared. The issue is all of this was hinging on getting to certain altitude, but you just have to.
Right.
And so, you know, that's why the flight was so frustrating, so detrimental to me. It's like, my whole nice plan is not even possible. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Like, because per the POH, the plane should be able to do this. They can't, even at this temperature. So that was very frustrating. I think that should have been the first indication that something was not good. But yeah, so we did good preparation. I think that would be important if you are doing a ferry, right? If you're not, you don't do long cross countries that much. You know, make a priority to. And one thing I would have differently said is maybe also have someone who knows the local area. We don't know anything about desert flying. I have no clue how the desert works. So like having someone to fly with me and say, "Oh, that's definitely not normal," so it would have been nice. Someone who's very used to the desert flying. So I think I would definitely do that again. Desert mountains. We're going to unknown terrain, unknown areas. Pay a guy for a day to fly with you for one leg in an airline at home. You know, because once I was in like West Texas, that's my bread and butter, right? Just lowlands, moist, thunderstorms. I can deal with thunderstorms all day. So yeah, that's kind of the purchase. But on the pilot perspective, things just looking back, like you know, things to get better. Every time something happens to get better, is starting from the starter. That should have been an indication. The mag check definitely shouldn't have been fun, but it was at Get the Rights. We sat and did nothing for 3 days in California, waiting till Monday, the next business day. And we just wanted to get out of there so bad, like homesick, all that. So we just pushed through anyways. And then then throughout the flight, just that it never got, oh, we're having a great time. It was immediate distress, the whole time. So like I think I did. I'm looking back. Top decision to end it in Arizona was hard because we knew the moment you do that, you're spending tens of thousands of dollars. You're very hyper aware of the cost of ending the flight. So I'm happy we did it. Probably should have happened sooner. I'm looking back now, I would have kept it because Cable Airport in the LA area, there are mechanics out there that can do things. I probably failed the mag check. I would have said, okay, I own this plane now. It had a hangar even to stay in. I would have kept it there, hired a mechanic there, got her all like up to snuff perfectly, and then hired a ferry pilot from California. That's kind of what I would have done differently because I kind of felt that Get the Rights was definitely getting both of us just because the homesickness of having to wait 3 days and all that.
Oh yeah. Are there any things that you will incorporate in your training for your students?
Yeah, I emphasize Get the Rights a lot more because so many people are dying from just flying through thunderstorms and stuff that is very preventable because they want to get there so bad. So like for my students in particular on long cross country, it's just as see if I got model stuff is that we probably all been at flight training. You're flying, something's definitely not right with the plane. See if I go, you know what I mean? Just, We've all.
Oh yeah.
I've adamantly tried to stop doing that in my training. Like if I see a little oil leak or you see something like that is not supposed to be not right, like the airspeed indicator, right? Ours, as we said, ram pressure is leaking.
Yep.
Old, new CFI Matthew would be like, oh, whatever. But now I'm like, no, the POH says you're supposed to get these numbers. You should get these numbers. It's not, I need to know my numbers for landing and stuff. So now, we're getting that fixed. We'll have a new lines ran. Same with the radio, new radio. So I think it's that like very be as by the books as possible for your students, even if they're not going to be. Like I've had students that are very not, but you have to be like the model rule follower by the books guy for students because then that creates good examples.
True. So now that the plane's been here, even though there's still some ongoing maintenance we need to do, you've had a couple of students fly the plane. You've given me my checkout. What has been the general reaction? Do you like training it? Do the students like it?
It's really easy. It's the easiest tailwheel plane I've ever flown. I've flown like 8 now. Super easy to fly. It's super stable because the wheelbase is long, right?
Yeah.
Like tail, like a Pitts or something is hard to fly because here's your main, here's your tail wheel. 170 is an incredibly long airplane. Super stable in the air. It's just a 172, right? You can't complain with that. It stays coordinated. It's nice and easy to fly, but no control pressures are high. On the ground, the elevator's not counterweighted, so to hold the elevator back when you're taxiing like a tail wheel, it's very heavy on the arms.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, I actually love the plane. Like the engines for these 0300s, they're really smooth. They rev a little higher. Cross country, you can go like 2450.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is going to sound stupid. We're doing about 115, 120 miles an hour. So we're at about 100 knots. That sounds stupid, but to us, that is fast. Right? Tailcraft.
Oh, yeah. It's cruising.
Like, tailcraft is not, goes about 90, 100 if you really push it. So go like 120 miles per hour, not knots. It feels faster. Also, the altitude go a lot higher.
Mm-hmm.
Students really like it. The baggage compartment's huge, right? If you're just flying alone, you can bring like 600 pounds of stuff with you. With two people, you can still bring like 200 pounds of stuff with you. Big carrier. The students so far really love it and want to, get their license in it, get teched out, rent it. It's an awesome plane to fly. Like, I'm glad we did it. It costs a lot of money to get it up to snuff, and we made some mistakes along the way getting it. Like, it is a really awesome plane. So, like, so far the reaction's great. I like flying it. You checked out it.
I like flying it. It is, like you said, unbelievably fast. My last 75 hours have been in the Taylorcraft and then flying this.
And the average person watching this who maybe flies 172s, 172 SPs that go fast, or Cirruses, double the speed multis, all that. I fly the multi as well, and I'm going miles an hour, 180 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But still, like, most of the majority of my instructing is tailwheel instructing in a Taylorcraft. It's really nice to go 40 miles an hour greater than that if I need to. And the altitude's nice, cooler air.
And not to mention, with the metal skin and the bigger airplane, it's heavier, and you really feel it. It's not at the whim of the wind quite as much as the Taylorcraft. Like, I've done a trip in the Taylorcraft, an overnight trip, and I think you have too. It's kind of nerve-wracking. It's fun and it's so beautiful, but you realize, like, hey, if the crosswind picks up too much, I might be stuck here.
The Taylorcraft is a 8 a.m. or like 6 a.m. to
fly.
You can't fly at night because it has stuff. And also, we're bigger people. Like, when I fly a Taylorcraft, I'm hunched over, shoulders are forward. It's not, the 170 is a very roomy cockpit.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You can stretch back and you can put the seat all the way back. It's super roomy. So, like, it's a lot more comfortable. It's a lot more solid of a platform.
Yeah.
I think. Like, the Tailcraft is fun. That's what it's meant. It's a fun plane. Tailcraft is more fun. The 170 is much more like utility, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cessna, that's what they do. They make utility planes. This plane is very, very useful.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing like trips with either the boys or me and my wife in the 170. It's gonna be a good addition.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome plane.
Yeah. So I would say if you're going to buy a plane with a loan, the amount of money you set aside for the down payment, set aside about that much just in case.
Unless you're buying like a new plane from Cirrus or a new plane from Cessna factory, which they don't really sell to people. But like, it's not always going to lie to you, right? If you're the owner of a plane, you're hyper comfortable with it. You know its quirks. You don't know its quirks. So you kind of are going to have to spend money. When you buy a new plane, you got to spend the money to bring it back up to like factory spec because that's what you want out of your plane you just bought.
Yeah.
So like, and it ended up being exactly double for me. What the down payment was versus what I paid in maintenance. So
we can say the numbers if you want.
Yeah, so the down payment we split even ways. We each paid $10,000, and then I paid for the baffling, which was $10,000.
Yeah,
that was the one thing. Like, labor is crazy right now. I didn't even plan. I learned so much. The Tailcraft is so quick and easy to fix that we don't really notice the cost. The kit, the Airforms kit for the 170, is $3,000. The install fee was $6,000.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so like, it's maintenance is a lot, labor is a lot. So and that's fine. Really good work was done to the plane. I'm glad we got good work done. But now, just telling people who are going to buy a plane, plan for more expenses. Don't just plan on the insurance and the hangar. Put a large budget away for stuff going wrong.
Yeah, I think total amount spent after buying the airplane was probably what? 15 to 20K and ferry pilot, gas, maintenance, all that. But I don't regret it. It's still gonna be.
Yeah, it's a cool plane, and Yeah, I'm really excited to get the Garmin in it. That's just gonna be cool. Garmin radio, just that. Like
Yeah.
right now, we're limited to handhelds. We can't really do a towered airport that well. Can't do flight following, but you can do just basic local flights. We got this plane to cover some distance, right? We want to like cover some distance here, private pilot cross country, as well as commercial cross countries, and just people wanting to do long cross countries, get that training. Yeah. So I'm excited for the modifications, getting it all the way up to. We're gonna get it eventually to the point of like it's doing exactly what it's supposed to.
Right. Yeah. That is the goal. Ready to land the plane?
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. All right. Sit.
Thank you for listening to the Wing Wag. If you liked this episode, please consider subscribing. And if you're out flying today, make sure to give somebody a wing wag.